Every so often in this industry, a rumor pops up that makes you think. This could actually change the game. Right before you remember that most rumors are often as reliable as a conversation overheard at NAB. But this one's different. Arri, the gold standard for cinema cameras, might be up for sale. And yes, Canon's name is being whispered as a potential buyer. But first, please punch that subscribe button. It means an awful lot to us, like discovering that Canon just bought Arri and they're sending you a welcome gift basket. Hi, I'm Simon, and I shoot with professional gear. I test it, and on occasion, I have to admit, I feel like tossing it out of a window. Today, we're going to be talking about what it would mean if Canon actually went ahead and bought Arri. We'll cover the Nikon Red implications, the financials, the risk versus the rewards, and whether this actually makes sense for Canon, or if they'd be better off investing their hard-earned cash, our money that we gave to them to buy products, into something far more boring and stable, like selling paper to government offices. Arri is a privately owned company with a centuries-long reputation for making the most reputable cinema cameras in the world. The Alexa series is everywhere in high-end film and television, but the pandemic hit them hard. Hollywood production for theatrical releases slowed dramatically, streaming budgets tightened, and the market for big cinema rigs shrank. Arri has already started selling off their non-core assets, and reports suggest they're now exploring selling more divisions, and maybe even the whole company. The most trusted camera brand in the cinema industry is considering changing hands. Now, for context, that's like Leica announcing a buy one, get one free sale. Canon is dominant in stills and strong in documentary and low-budget productions, with cameras like the C500 Mark II, the C300 Mark III, and the C400. But they've struggled to crack the big-budget feature market. Canon's C700 never really took off, and despite the EOS 5 series being widely popular for hybrid work, they're absent from most major narrative productions. If Canon bought Arri, they wouldn't just be knocking on the door of the A Camera Club, they'd be moving straight into the penthouse, leapfrogging over Nikon and Sony, or at least that's how they'd see it. Remember last year? Nikon pulled off a surprise. They bought Red for $85 million. Red had brand recognition, proprietary compression tech, and a loyal customer base. Within months, Nikon rolled out the Z Cinema series, including Red-designed products, without dismantling Red's identity. In other words, Nikon showed Canon the blueprint. Keep the brand, move quickly, and quietly inject your own tech into the lineup. If Canon followed suit with Arri, well, we could see Arri by Canon, keeping the blue logo up front, but with Canon's manufacturing scale and sensor tech under the bonnet. Here's where that gets tricky. Nikon paid $85 million for Red. Arri would almost certainly cost many multiples of that. It's the market leader with deep IP, a global rental network, and a name that practically guarantees prestige, which does align with Canon's corporate identity as being second to none. But Arri is a cyclical company in a high-end niche market that's facing pressure from cheaper, more flexible production pipelines. Canon has the cash on hand, about $2.7 billion, and a history of making large acquisitions, like Toshiba's medical systems for about $5.9 billion. But they've increasingly focused on diversifying into boring but profitable sectors like medical imaging and industrial tech, where the customers don't suddenly disappear because Netflix cut their budget. So Canon has a big decision to make. Do they buy a trophy asset and go toe-to-toe with Sony in cinema? Or do they buy another medical company that quietly prints money for the next 20 years? Buying Arri would give Canon instant credibility in the top tier of cinema, access to Arri's brand, dealer network, and rental ecosystem. The potential to merge Arri's optical expertise with Canon's CineLens lineup and manufacturing and R&D efficiencies that could cut costs and accelerate innovation. But on the downside, it would mean a high acquisition cost with uncertain near-term returns, the risk of a cultural mismatch, Canon's production mindset with Arri's bespoke, service-heavy approach and buying into a cyclical market at a potentially low point, which could turn into a long slog if the market cycle doesn't recover quickly. In other words, the upside is huge, but so is the invoice. This is an opportunity and a challenge for Canon, and with the Red acquisition by Nikon, well, it turns up the heat a little bit. This would not be a cheap acquisition, so it would need to start paying off immediately. But the big question for Canon that they would have to ask is, would completing this purchase make them a dominant player in the cinema world? Because as much fun as it would be to see Canon versus Sony play out, well, actually, no, let's scratch that. Imagine for a moment that Canon buys Arri, and we've got Nikon with Red and Sony with their, well, long list of everything from the very bottom basement, FX30, FX3, all the way up to the Venice line. All three of these slogging out, no matter how exciting that sounds. Nothing kills shareholder excitement faster than, well, the ROI going into a toilet, and Canon on the brink of some pretty negative quarters. The romantic in me wants to see Canon buy Arri, keep the brand intact, and unleash a new era of competition in the top-tier cinema segment. But the realist in me, well, I know that Canon likes a safe bet, and buying a cinema company at the highest level, well, is anything but safe. But if Canon is eyeing these issues, well, so are other potential suitors. Now, one option for Canon and the rest of the market is to wait and see if more blood shows up on Arri's books, then buy up the company for cheap. This is something that Atari tried with Amiga, and it almost worked before Commodore came in at the 11th hour, quite literally. If Canon does do this deal, well, I'll be there covering every single bit of news, every lens cap that they drop along the way. And if they don't, well, that's fine too. We'll probably end up talking about some sort of new hybrid cinema camera or stills hybrid camera, because if the 8-camera game doesn't change, the rest of the industry never stops moving. And if you're interested in buying any new cinema gear from Adorama, B&H, Amazon.com, or Walmart, then please consider using my affiliate links, product links down below. These guys right here, because this channel is very much viewer supported. You might have noticed that nowhere through this video were there any sponsorship ads. And if you're actually paying YouTube, whatever it is per month, to not watch ads, well, this is one of those few channels that gives you a completely ad-free experience. Thank you so much for watching. It's very much appreciated. But if you do click on those links, just to let you know, for transparency I get anywhere from 2 to 5% back, and it's, again, very much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.